Hey guys, so welcome to the tutorial. Today I'll be going over Azucena. She's a new character in Tekken. In my opinion, I think she's quite simple to play, and she offers some of the game's most obnoxious situations to do which I'll go over later into the tutorial. I think she's a really strong character tier-wise, strength-wise, everything-wise. I think she's really good for players who like to have a simple game plan, strong punishments, and stance mix-ups. So before I dig into the options that she has, I would like to ask you guys to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling generous, even a super thanks donation to help support the channel. So let's get right into it. So in this section, let's talk about her key moves. Now, I'm not going to go over every key move, but I'm going to go over her main key moves, the ones I think are better moves to use. So let's start with her jab. So her jab is particularly strong because of the range and the hitbox. A particularly nasty follow-up after her jab is her 1-1. So 1-1 is a jab into a mid, which is extremely strong because it's safe on block. It is safe on block. However, they can step it, but you can play a lot of mind games around it. So 1-1 is a safe mid on block. It goes into her stance afterwards, which I'll talk about more in detail. You can basically like harass them with the jab, sometimes mixing in the follow-up to catch them pressing, for example. So it can make her jab game extremely obnoxious. And of course, she has 1-2, which you're going to keep as a punisher. This is only going to be a punisher. One of the best 10-frame punishes in the game, as I showed earlier, extremely strong. Another move you're going to use with Azucena is 2-1. 2-1 is really nice because it's 10-frame, it's a high mid, it has really good tracking. So if your opponent likes to step around Azucena, like especially after this for example, you can do 2-1. Now, if they like to take their turn back after 2-1, you can finish extension by pressing 2-1-2. Now, you can really harass them, be annoying with this character, just poke them down with 2-1, and when they want to take their turn back, you can make them freeze up by doing the extension. So 2-1 is definitely going to be one of your most used moves with Azucena. Downward 1-4 with Azucena, this move is particularly good. So downward 1 is everyone's main mid check, right? It's going to be your main mid poke because it's our fastest mid, and also the range is quite good. Now, what's particularly strong about her downward 1-4 is the fact that downward 1-4 jails on block, means they can knock off this. So it's a pretty damaging slave string, essentially, for a poke string, and they can knock off the high on block. So it's pretty risk-free to do, in general. So, and the frames is quite good at +4, and the damage is pretty nice, and it's totally safe on block, they cannot duck it. So, if you think your opponent is going to take their turn after downward 1-4, you can continue the extensions with the downward 1-4-1. So downward 1-4-1 is a counter launcher on the third hit. So if you think your opponent's going to take their turn back, you can keep them honest by doing this. He also has a mid option after this as well. So if you think your opponent's going to like hard duck the high, you can do downward 1-4 into the 2. So downward 1-4 into the 2, which is a mid option. It is unsafe, so be careful. But if your opponent's looking to duck the high, you can throw this out sometimes. For standing 3, now for anyone that played Josie before in Tekken 7, will love this move. It's a 14-frame range mid poke, and it also has extensions as well. So if you're on points, you can hit confirm the follow-ups, which I believe they are hit confirmable. So if you think your opponent's gonna like approach, you can use this as a keep out move. But you can also just use this as a general mid poke at range. And if you're, like I said, if you're on point, you can hit confirm the extensions. It is difficult, but in my opinion it's worth doing. And her standing 3-3 is her 14 frame Punisher, as I showed earlier. So if you think your opponent's gonna duck the 3-3, you can throw in the 3-2 sometimes to keep them honest, you know, keep them from ducking the high. But in general, it's just a good range mid poke. 1+2. Now this is gonna be one of your main moves with Azucena. 1+2 is a 15 frame high counter at launcher. Now you might be asking, that's kind of slow for a high counter at launcher, right? But you have to consider the fact that it has really good range, and it's a counter at launcher, and also it high crushes. You can see it actually kind of ducks a little bit, so it's a very consistent high crush. So if you sense that your opponent's gonna go for a jab, or they're gonna go for a magic 4 or whatever high is right, you can use 1+2 to go under the high and fish a counter at launcher. So this is going to be one of your main moves with Azucena, like 100%. So 1+2, an absolute must. 4-3-2 is okay in my opinion. It's one of our longest reaching mids. It's a bit on the slower side at 18 frame, but it is one of our longest, like most further reaching mids. If you're, now be careful because 4-3 goes into her stance on hit or block, so it's a bit committal. But however, if you're on point, you can hit confirm the follow up into a 3-4-4-3 afterwards. So you can use this to kind of poke your opponents at range and enter the stance, or you can fish for the hit confirm by doing 4-3-2 into the guarantee follow up. So now 4-4 is going to be your main homie move. So if you think your opponent is going to step, or they like to step in general, you can use 4-4 to check them. 4-4 has an extension afterwards. So 4-4 is a heat engager. So if you really believe that your opponent's gonna step, you want to throw this move out, just be careful because it is a high follow-up, so they can duck afterwards. Now, there's something cool you can do with 4-4. So 4-4 actually cancels into back turn. So if you hold back during the extension, you go into back turn, and I'll talk about her back turn game in its own session later on in the video. You also have 4-4-2, which is a +1 on block high, so that's 4-4 into the 2. So you can kind of keep them, you know, hesitating and looking out for all the extensions. You can also do 4-4-4-3, so 4-4 cancel into the 3 for the mid option. So you have a bunch of tools after 4-4. So, you know, keep them on their toes, keep them thinking about all the extensions that you can do afterwards. And when they're respecting your extensions, then you can start going to the back turn and forcing the mix up. Now 4-2 is going to be one of your main ways to enter heat with this character. Now what 4-2 is, it's a high power crush, it's a heat engager as you can see. So if you read that your opponent is going to come and attack you or approach you in any way, you can use this to intercept them and then start your heat pressure. So 4-2 is definitely good if you read that your opponent's going to go in with pressure. Then for 2 is your typical mid launcher. So when you're close, this is going to be your main whip punisher. So if your opponent whips something, you're going to whip punish with Dumper 2. And it's also a 15 frame launcher. So when you block -15 moves or more, you're going to use this. You're going to use this move to punish them with block. And you can also just kind of throw it out. If you think your opponent's going to duck for whatever reason, like hard ducking, you can use this to catch them out as well. Dumper 3 is going to be one of your main mid counter launchers. So this is your main mid counter launcher. So let's say, for example, 1-2 on hit is +8, right? If you do Dumper 3 afterwards, you're going to counter hit them. So it's a counter launcher, as you can see. So after 1-2 on hits, you can do Dumper 3 to keep them honest if they're matching afterwards. It's a little bit slow at 17 frame, but it is what this character has, so you kind of have to work with it. So if you sense that your opponent's going to overextend at your plus frames, you can use this to keep them in check. Then 3-3 is a really nice like round ender, so it's kind of fast at 15 frame. Now why Den 3 is a decent round ender is because it has an extension, and that extension has an extension. So Den 3, Den 3-3, and Den 3-3-4. So if you think your opponent's gonna try and punish the down 3, finish this. If you think your opponent's going to try and punish the second hit, finish it all. So it's an extremely good run ender in my opinion. So it's a very layered, you know, extensions, a very layered string and like mix up punish on block. So use this sparingly. Dan 4 is going to be one of your main low pokes because the range is quite good. It's 15 frame, so it's pretty fast. Now, it's not also because of the range and it's not also because of the speed. It's also because it has an extension. So if your opponent likes to try and punish you after Dan 4, you can use the extension to keep them honest, you know, because if they try to punish, this will interrupt them. And also, if you do Dan 4 on hit, you can cancel into the wall. You can cancel into Dan 4 1, 2. They cannot interrupt this on hit. So Dan 4 on hit into this, they cannot interrupt. So it's a frame trap. So you can be really annoying with Dan 4, like harass them with Dan 4, and when they try to retaliate, you can kind of slip this in, and it is a safe mid as well, so it's not too bad to troll out as well. So pretty nice. And like I said, just like Dan 3, 3, 4, it's also a good run ender because if they try to punish this will interrupt them, like I said. Now, if you want something a little bit more beefy, you can use Dan 4. Dan 4 does more damage than Dan 3 and Dan 4, and it has more range as well. Just be careful because it is unsafer compared to the other lows, so be a bit careful with it. But if you want to rack up damage through lows in neutral, this is going to be your to go to low. On counter hit, she gets plus 12, which can go a long way for this character. Now just be careful using it against certain characters because, like I said, it is minus 14, and there are some characters with really strong 14 frame punishers, so use it wisely and well timed. The Mach 3 is going to be your main way, one of your main ways to go into Backturn. I will talk about her Backturn game once again in the later session, but just note that Mach 3 is going to be one of your main ways to go into it. It is only plus 4, so you're going to have to do some conditioning when you're in Backturn, but like I said, I'll describe that in more detail later on. But just note that Mach 3 is an okay low poke to start pressure with this character. So another move with Azucena you can use is Dembak 1 plus 2. Now, Dembak 1 plus 2 is, if you know what Lily's Matterhorn is, it's a very similar purpose. It's a really unsafe mid launcher. As you can see, it's minus 21, so it's really unsafe. But the main purpose of this move is like a big hard read Hail Mary move, because as you can see, it high crushes, and I believe it can go under some mids as well. So if you have a big read on your opponent, you can go for this for like a big Hail Mary launcher. Obviously use very sparingly, but it is there if you need it. Very sparingly for hard reads. Another move that's good is back 2. Why back 2 is good is because it's a homie move, first of all. But it's not just that, it's also plus 2 on block, meaning that you can still pressure afterwards. So it's a knockdown, it wall splats, and on block it's plus 2. So in my opinion, it's a pretty good move. So as you can see, it wall splats here. So definitely a must use in my opinion. Back 3 is, oh my god, yes, back 3 is 100% going to be a spammable move with this character. As you can see, it forces them in crouch. That means they cannot step in one direction, because they cannot top down into the foreground. So for example, on this side, Reina can't do side step left. So that's already extremely strong, but it's not just that, it's also plus 4 on block. So it's also plus 4, which means you can do down forward 1, 4 afterwards as a frame trap. And also, it's a heat engager as well. And when you're in the heat, it's a ball launcher as well. And also, as you can see by the health bar, it also does chip damage. So you can really like loop this pressure. If they're just blocking, you can keep going and take away their health. And when they try to challenge or match out, you can keep them in honors. You can frame trap them with down forward 1-4 afterwards. So extremely strong move with this character, absolutely spammable. Another good move is R4-4. Now this is going to be like your orbital. What we call an orbital in this game is that it's a natural hit launcher that low crushes. So Azucena's is exactly like that. So she low crushes with this move. Now I've had it go under some mids as well, so it can do that as well. So if you have a read that your opponent's gonna go for a low, or even certain mids, apparently, you can go for this option. So it's a bit of a call out move on the lows, but it is there as an option. 443 is going to be one of your main whip punishers, so if you're not close enough for them for 2 and you're feeling confident in your forward motions, you can do 443 as a whip punisher. Now just be careful because it is pretty unsafe on block, so be careful being slow with it, but if you're on point you can use this as a whip punisher. Another move you can use is 444. 444 is going to be another kind of pressure tool you can use with the character. It's now compared to back 3, it's not plus on block, so it's only 0 on block and it's a bit slower as well. However, on hits you get guaranteed crouch grab, which is unbreakable. So honestly, I think I would still use back 3 anyway, but 444 is there if you want something different. And the reward is better on hits, as you can see. Now, let's talk about this move, right? This move is why everyone complains about this character. This move defines Azucena. So we're talking, okay, not 443, ignore that, but running 3-2. So while running 3-2 is going to be one of your main moves with this character. This is like her best move in my opinion. So why it's so strong is because it's a mid-high, but it does jail on block. Like Downward 1-4, it jails on block, meaning you can knock up the high. So it's +5 on block. It does tremendous chip. It does insane chip. It's +5. So the whole idea of this move is that your opponent is forced to challenge it. So they can't just keep blocking this, right? Because it does so much chip. So they can't really just keep blocking it. So when they try to mash out and disrespect you or take their turn back, that's when you can do downward 1-4, or you can do 1+2 to counter hit them. So, and the other thing is the tracking is really strong as well. So it's actually really hard to get away from this move. So if your opponent's like trying to step around it, a lot of times it will just catch them anyway. So the tracking is also really strong on it, and the range, the chip damage, just plus frames, it's a pretty damn good move. So just this makes the character extremely obnoxious in my opinion. So now let's talk about it in heat. So in heat it does even more. Look at all that chip damage, it does even more in heat. So you're making opponents like really be frustrated and not be happy just taking all this damage. But yeah, so let's talk about Azucena's crouching game. Now, FC Downward 3 is going to be your main low poke in our crouching game. Why this move is so good is because look at the range, right? Look at the range of this move. It goes so far. On counter hit, you get free crit grab, as you can see. So this move, you're going to use this move a lot to like just frustrate your opponent. It's not too unsafe on block at -13. So you're going to really frustrate the opponents with this. And if you think your opponent's going to mash after this, this is when this comes in use. While standing 1. While standing 1 is a 13 frame mid counter launcher. So if you think your opponent's going to mash after this, you can go for while standing 1. 13 frame mid counter launcher from while standing. So it's a pretty good move. You can kind of just like duck in neutral and troll edge as well, fishing for counter hit against your opponent. So you can kind of like just be like here up close or wherever, randomly duck and go for it, or fish for it after this. Now if you want something a little bit more, you could do FC Downward 3 into while standing 4. While standing 4 is a faster option as a crouching mix. So let's say you're crouching your opponent's face and they're ducking, you can use this as a quicker option. This is also her 11 frame punisher from while standing with this, but personally I wouldn't do this on block, you know, because it is a duckable high. So only keep this to punishment in my opinion, but while standing 4 is there as a quick mid poke. Now, another really strong move Azucena has from crouch is her while standing 3. While standing 3, on hit or on block, goes into Libertador Stance. So on block, it goes into it as well. On hits, it goes into it at huge plus frames. So it's a pretty good mid option in a crouching game, and it's a good way to start pressure with her stances. So you're probably wondering, what do I do in this stance? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about it in the next section. So now she has a stance called Libertador Stance. Now please forgive my Spanish, I totally butchered that. So it's a stance where she has various moves out of it. Now what's interesting about this stance, that it auto fades highs and it auto fades lows. So auto fades highs and it auto fades lows, which makes it a pretty interesting stance. Now, in my opinion, you don't really use it for the evasion properties, you use it for the mix-ups. The evasion is just a bonus of it, in my opinion. So, you can move in the stance by tapping up, down, back, and forward. Now, just be careful, she can't block in the stance. Now, when Azucena is in heat, she doesn't attack automatically. So when she evades something while in heat, she automatically does something. She automatically does an attack. So it's pretty strong when she's in heat. Now you can also do Archetypus 4 in Libertador if you want to go into Backturn, but we'll talk about that later on. So, like I said, she can enter the leap stance by doing 4-2+4, or you can go into it from various transitions, such as 1-1. Or, so 1-1, while standing 3, and various other things, 4-3 as well. But in my opinion, the main option you're going to go into it is from 1-1. It's good because you're +8 into the stance. Now, let's see what we can do in this stance. So, in this stance, she has Libertador 1, which is her fastest option out of the stance. It's 13 frame and it has an extension afterwards, which is natural combo. So if you feel like your opponent is disrespecting certain transitions, such as this, so I'm going to make Reina block here, for example. So let's say this is only +4, right? So you're going to keep them honest by doing Libertador 1 to frame trap them if they try to do disrespect you at +4 here. Another good thing is, or he smash and block. You can do the leap 1. If you think they're gonna rage art, you can use this stuff to rage art. So he smash on block. You can do leap 1 to stop them from doing rage art, which is really important to note. That's probably the main purpose of that move. Now, Libertador 2 is gonna be your main mid option, and as you can see, it's a heat engager, and it's your fastest mid at 14 frame. It's her fastest mid at 14 frame. And if you hit this move while you're in heat, you get a launcher, which is pretty strong, right? So it makes it very scary to duck against, especially in heat. And if you want to safely exit out of the stance, like on hits for example, like this, you can just go for the 2. And because it's safe mid and her fastest option, you can just do this move to just exit out of the stance. Another move you can do is Leap 3, which is a +2 on hits low, which goes into Backturn. And then I'll talk about Backturn game in a little while. She does have a follow-up with 3 into the 1+2, which is only -10. However, she's in Backturn, so it's a little bit unsafer, so be careful about this. But you can use this to stop them from punishing the 3. If you think they're going to punish the 3, you can continue the extension, but in my opinion, you just want to do the 3 the most of the time by itself, right? So let's talk about Libertador 4. Now, Libertador 4 is good because it's a fast mid at 15 frame. It's going to be one of your mid options. The good thing about the 4 is that she stays in the stance. And when your opponent tries to disrespect this, she has leap 1. She has leap 4-1. So she has 4-1 here. And the good thing about this is it's a counter launcher. it's a counter launcher. So it's all counter launcher. And if you think your opponent's gonna disrespect you after the 4-1 on block, you can continue this into the leap 4-1-2. So 4-1-2. And this is gonna be her main combo filler as well. Leap 4-1-2. Now, the idea of this is to keep them in check. Keep them in check. Keep them from disrespecting the 4-1 as well with the extensions. Now, what happens if they're ducking this? So, as you can see, the second it's a high, right? So, what can we do to stop them from ducking the stream? We can do leap 4-2. So, leap 4-2. So, as you can see, it wall splats. So, we're going to go over here. It wall splats for a full combo. It also, if you're also near the wall and it doesn't quite wall splat, like here for example, you get a guaranteed 4-3 afterwards. So this, and it's not too unsafe on block as well. It's only it is -13, so it's a little bit unsafe. But you play the mind games. You introduce the high, or you go for the mid. So it's a mind game at the end of the day. Another move you want to use is now similar to Denmark 1+2. You can use leap 1+2 as kind of a Hail Mary mix-up. So it is unsafe on block at -14. However, it does high crush. And if you're really feeling yourself, you can use this as a mid option to launch your opponent risky. But if you're feeling risky, you can go for this as a mid option. So, and like I said, it does crush under highs and some mids as well. So it's a pretty heavy mix option. Another move you can do is leap 3+4. So it's a homing power crush. So if you think your opponent's going to try and interrupt you, like for example 4-3 here, you can go for the power crush to stop them from pressing against you. Or if you think they're going to step, you can go for this as well. If you think they're going to step or press against you, go for this. So that's useful for transitions on blocks such as this. So +4 on block into this, for example, just to make them respect your stance, right? So that's there. Now let's talk about leap down 4-4. So you're thinking, okay, you have all these mids, you have all these power crushes. Where is the low? So why do they want to duck this stance? Now they're going to want to duck this stance because of the health sweep. So this is leap down 4-4. So this move is really good because if you're against a balcony break or any kind of wall interactable, you get a full combo. So this move gets pretty toxic against these kind of breakable walls. So your main low option to mix up is going to be the hell sweep here, right? And your mid option, for example, can be leap 4-1, it can be leap 4-2, it can be leap 2 itself. So use your mix-ups wisely, frustrate your opponent, and like I said, personally, I like entering it into from 1-1. It's going to be your main transition, while standing 3 is going to be your main transition. Or if you knock down the opponents, for example, like this for example, you can do this on their wake up and force a mix up as the tech roll by doing it manually. So use this stance wisely because this is going to be your main mix up option. So now let's talk about personally my favorite thing about this character, her backturn game. Now, she has a really strong backturn game in my opinion, and she can really snowball the opponent's light bar if she guesses correctly with it. So she can manually enter backturn with back 2+4, but she has a few transitions into it from certain moves. So one move I mentioned was Denmark 3. Another move I mentioned was 1-2. Now let's talk about 1-2 in particular. So 1-2 is going to be your main way to enter this transition. So if you do 1-2 as a punisher, you can hold back to go into back turn. So let's say you block something unsafe, you punish it 1-2, you go into back turn. Now why is 1-2 particularly a good transition into the stance is because it's +8 on hit, right? It's +8 on hit, meaning you can do pretty much whatever you want from back turn. Now let's talk about her back turn options. So the one option she has is back turn 1. Now back turn 1 is her fastest option out of this. It's 0 on block and it's 10 frame. So you're going to use this to kind of keep your opponent honest. If they're trying to interrupt you, you can do this to, you know, like stop them from trying to interrupt you. She does have a follow-up with Backturn 1-2. But in my opinion, it's quite knowledge checky, so I wouldn't rely on it too much. But Backturn 1 by itself is decent in my opinion. To stay in Backturn. Yeah, Backturn 2 is a hit grab from Backturn. So if you do 2 and press 1+2 at the same time, you get the whole animation. Yeah, the good thing about this move that is safe on block. It's only -8, so it's safe on block. Now, why this is strong is because if you do 1-2 on hits, it cannot do anything but the 2. So if you think your opponent's gonna duck or mash against this, you can use the 2. So it's a pretty rewarding, safe option, and let's be honest, it looks pretty fun, right? The whole cinematic's pretty cool as well. Now, I talked about the highs and the mids. Now, where is the low? So, Backturn 3 is a really chunky low option from Backturn. On counter hit, you get crit grab, just like the other situations. Now, this is going to be your main way to enter Libertador Stance, like one of your main ways. So, it's going to be your main low and then Backturn as well. So, when you're in Backturn, this is going to be your main low option. Now, so for example, after 1-2, in my opinion, you can force a 50-50 immediately by going for the low option or going for the mid option. So when you land 1-2 as a 10 frame punish into Backturn, you can get 50-50 between the 2 and the 3. And as you can see, the 3 goes into the Libertador Stance, so you can even further apply mix-ups to them. And remember I said earlier, the Stance 3 goes back into Backturn, so it's a pretty nice little vortexy kind of situation. So a personal flowchart of mine is Backturn 3 into Libertador 2 if you try to duck or press buttons afterwards, because it is +4 on hits, meaning you can frame drop with this in your favor. Now, Backturn 4, in my opinion, is okay. It's a mid option in Backturn. She stays in Backturn afterwards. It's +6, so it's pretty nice. So you can kind of use it as a loop-in situation almost. So if you think they're going to duck, you can keep them in check with this and then stay in Backturn afterwards. She has an extension afterwards with Backturn 4-3, which is natural combo. And also if you try to take their turn after this, you can finish it sometimes. In my opinion, use it very sparingly because it is quite unsafe on block at -14, so use it sparingly, but it is there. Now, Backturn 1+2 is a 14 frame mid-scan threat launcher. So it's a mid-scan threat launcher. Now be careful, because it is unsafe at -11. Now, why would you want to use this over Backturn 2? Well, I'm glad you asked, because Backturn 1+2 is 14 frame startup, which means it's faster than Backturn 2. So it depends on what you want to do. Do you want the safety of Backturn 2, but you might get mashed out of it? Or do you want the rewards of Backturn 1+2 because it's a counter launcher? So if they press, you get all this, right? Backturn 1+2 becomes more important because the Back 3, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is one way to enter Backturn. But as you can see, it's only +4 on hit, which means they can interrupt the Backturn 2, right? So it's only +4, and then you're doing Backturn 2, which is 17 frame startup, so they can interrupt this, right? This is not a frame trap. However, if you think they're gonna mash, that's when you go for Backturn 1+2. So +4 into 14 frame move. It's a frame trap, right? So if they mash after this, you're gonna get combo. So one last move that I can talk about is Backturn 1+2. In my opinion, it's not very strong, so don't worry about it too much, but it is there. You can combo off it as well with Backturn 4-3, but in my opinion, ignore this move, it's okay. If you think they're going to mash down jab, or they're going to do some kind of low for some reason in Backturn, or they're trying to like down jab, you can use this as a hard read and go over the dent job, right? But like I said, don't use it too much in my opinion. The other options are so much better. Your main stuff is going to be back turn 3, back turn 2, and back turn 1+2 are going to be your main options. Now she has a few back turn specific movement options with back turn back 3+4, which I don't know, it's not really that useful, but it's kind of funny. She has back turn forward, so back turn back 1+2. So she kind of runs away a little bit. Now it actually does evade quite a few things. So if you just want to exit out of the stance, you can use this to reset neutral and go back into your spacing. And she has back turn back 3 and back turn back 4. So back turn back 3 and back turn back 4. But don't worry about it too much, like I said, you know, don't worry about it too much. It's just more for like partying and taunting your opponents a little bit. So that kind of concludes our back turn game in a nutshell. So that about summarizes the Azucena tutorial. As you can see, she has strong mix-ups in her stances, and she has strong mix-ups in her back turn game. And she also has top tier punishment at 1-2 for tiny little mistakes, which can go such a long way. So I hope this guy helps a lot, and please leave a like, comment, and a subscribe. As always, thank you very much.